I should have known something was wrong when Commander Vector started laughing. Not the polite clicking sound we Cathrish make when something amuses us. Mind you, this was the full-body convulsion, the kind that makes your exoskeleton rattle and your antenna go limp. The kind of laugh that usually precedes someone telling you that your entire career just got flushed out an airlock. They did what? I asked, my translator struggling to keep pace with my disbelief. High Command ordered an extermination strike on settlement designation Terra 792. Vector repeated, still wheezing with what I was beginning to realize might actually be terror disguised as amusement. Population, 473. Threat assessment. Agricultural. I stared at him. Agricultural. Correct. They wiped out a farming village. Attempted to wipe out. Vector corrected. And there it was again, that horrible laugh. That is the problem, Junior Analyst Krisha. They attempted it. See, here is what you need to understand about the Cathrish Dominion. We have ruled 17 star systems for the better part of 2,000 cycles. We have orbital superiority, genetic modification technology, and enough firepower to crack a planet's crust if we feel particularly irritated on a Tuesday. We are, by every measurable standard, a terrifying military force. And we just made the single dumbest decision in our entire history. I need to see the footage, I said. Vector's antenna drooped. No, you really do not, Commander. Fine, but do not say I did not warn you. The holographic display flickered to life, and I watched 3 Dominion gunships descend on what looked like a thoroughly unremarkable human settlement. Wooden structures mostly, some primitive combustion vehicles, fields of various crops stretching toward a tree line, a small stream cutting through the center. Boring, harmless. The kind of place you would retire to if you wanted to pretend the universe was not full of species trying to kill each other. The gunships opened fire. Buildings exploded into splinters. The fields became craters. The stream turned into steam. For exactly 47 seconds, it looked like a textbook extermination operation. Clean. Efficient. The kind of thing that would earn the strike team a commendation and a 3-day rest cycle. Then the humans started shooting back. Wait, I said. Those are agricultural implements. Modified agricultural implements, Fothkar corrected. Watch. A human, an older male with more gray hair than brown, stood in the ruins of what had probably been his home. He was holding what my database identified as a fertilizer distribution device, except he had apparently welded some kind of ignition system to it and filled it with, unless my sensors were malfunctioning, a mixture of fuel oil and locally manufactured explosives. He pointed it at Gunship 7. The explosion took out the entire port engine array. That is not possible, I whispered. Keep watching. What followed was not a battle. It was not even a skirmish. It was a systematic dismantling of 3 state-of-the-art military spacecraft by a collection of angry farmers using weapons that should not have worked, tactics that should not have succeeded, and a level of coordination that suggested they had been planning this for significantly longer than the 14 minutes since we tried to kill them. One gunship went down when a human female, maybe 30 cycles old, somehow managed to hack into its navigation system using what appeared to be a children's communication device, and a truly impressive amount of profanity. The ship flew itself directly into a mountainside. The second gunship retreated to a higher altitude, which would have been smart if the humans had not already set up what my analysis subroutine insisted on, classifying as absurdly oversized fireworks loaded with scrap metal and pointed skyward. The improvised flak burst shredded the hull plating and forced an emergency landing. The third gunship actually made it out of the atmosphere. For about 6 minutes. Then it received a transmission, audio only, from someone who identified themselves as Marcus, from the village council. And yes, we are very upset with you people. What followed was a detailed explanation of exactly what would happen to every Dominion military installation within 5 light years, if that gunship did not return to the surface and surrender. The gunship commander, whose service record I checked later and found to be exemplary, actually laughed at this threat. Right up until Marcus helpfully explained that the village had just hijacked our entire military communications network, locked out our command authorization protocols, and was currently broadcasting the coordinates of every single Dominion fleet element to what he described as some very interested parties who have been looking for you. The gunship landed. They hacked our military network, I said, my translator adding several extra layers of static to properly convey my emotional state. From a farming village. Using what? Best guess? A combination of captured technology from the last 7 species who tried to colonize their sector, some truly creative programming, and what one of our techs described as weaponized spite. I watched the humans begin pulling our soldiers out of the downed spacecraft. They were not gentle, but they were not cruel either, more like farmers handling particularly stubborn livestock. One human, a younger male wearing something with the words Volunteer Fire Department printed across the back, actually stopped to put an emergency medical patch on a wounded soldier's carapace, while simultaneously keeping his weapon, which I was now certain was a modified irrigation pump loaded with industrial adhesive, pointed at 3 other prisoners. What happened next? I asked, though part of me already knew the answer was going to make my antenna hurt. High Command declared them a level 5 threat and authorized a full battle group to neutralize the situation. And the battle group arrived to find the humans had already taken control of the 3 gunships, repaired them using parts they apparently just had lying around, and were in the process of offering our captured soldiers what they called fair treatment under interstellar law, which it turns out is an actual thing that we signed approximately 200 cycles ago and have been comprehensively ignoring ever since. I felt my mandibles click involuntarily. So we attacked a protected settlement. Oh, it gets better. Do you know why High Command ordered the strike in the first place? I am certain you are about to tell me. Resource Survey flagged the area as having significant deposits of that mineral we need for engine cores. Junior Administrator Plaxnor decided the easiest solution was to just eliminate the locals and claim the land. Plaxnor authorized a war crime over mining rights. Technically, yes. I am going to need something stronger than nutrient paste after this conversation. Vectara's antennae perked up slightly. Would you like the good news, or the catastrophic news first? There is good news. The humans are willing to negotiate. I felt a small flutter of hope. That is actually not terrible. What are their demands? Full reparations for damages, formal apology from High Command, immediate cessation of all hostile activities in Sector 9, recognition of their settlement rights. And this is the interesting part. They want a seat on the Dominion Council. The hope died. They want political representation in our government. They were very polite about it. Even sent a written proposal, 300 pages, fully annotated with citations from our own legal code. How did humans in a farming village gain access to our complete legal database? Same way they hacked our military network, apparently. Marcus, who is some kind of informal leader, used to be what humans call as systems engineers before he retired to grow vegetables. He seems to view our security protocols as what he described as, and I am quoting here, adorably optimistic. Pulled up the file on this Marcus individual, age 62 standard cycles. Previous occupation, civilian infrastructure specialist. Current occupation, apparently humiliating the entire Dominion military apparatus while tending to root vegetables. What is the catastrophic news? I asked. Bekthar's antennae went completely flat against his head. They launched a counterattack. They what? 6 hours ago, a single human transport vessel entered orbit around our capital world. One ship, Vekthar confirmed. It is currently parked directly above the High Command building. It has been broadcasting a message on repeat for the last 4 hours. What message? He played it for me. Greetings from Settlement 792, a cheerful human voice announced. We received your attempt at communication, which we are interpreting as a rather aggressive way of saying hello. In the interest of interspecies friendship, we have decided to respond in kind. Please be advised that the cargo hold of this vessel contains approximately 40,000 kilograms of what we call kinetic impactors, which you might recognize as large rocks that go very fast. We have calculated that dropping these at terminal velocity would generate approximately the same amount of destructive energy you used on our village. We feel this would be poetic. We are currently awaiting your response. Have a nice day. I stared at the display. They are threatening to drop rocks on our capital. Not exactly threatening, Vekthar said. More like politely informing us of their capabilities. How did they get past our orbital defenses? According to our defense grid logs, they filed the proper flight plan, requested docking clearance using legitimate commercial codes, and were flagged as a civilian research vessel. By the time anyone realized they were from the settlement we had just attacked, they were already in position. They used our own bureaucracy against us. It appears humans are very good at reading instruction manuals. Who knew? I pulled up the tactical display of our capital world. The human ship was indeed positioned perfectly above High Command. Our defense satellites were in range, but any attempt to fire would result in debris raining down on the most densely populated area of our homeworld. Abo Solarsuiker. Make. Diabmand. Tipiged. The humans had basically created a hostage situation using nothing but physics and proper filing procedures. What are High Command's orders? I asked. That is why you are here, Vector said. They want you to negotiate with the humans. Me? I am a junior analyst. I evaluate trade disputes and filing errors. Exactly. High Command feels that sending a military officer would be interpreted as hostile. You, however, are technically a civilian bureaucrat with no combat authority. The humans should find you non-threatening. Should I point out that this entire disaster started because of bureaucratic overreach? Best not to. I looked at the display again. The human ship was still there, still broadcasting its message, still holding several million civilians hostage with nothing but gravity and an impressive amount of audacity. When do I leave? I asked. Immediately. They are sending a shuttle to pick you up. They are sending a shuttle. They said it would be faster than going through our launch authorization process, something about paperwork taking too long. I was beginning to understand why Vector had been laughing earlier. This was not a military crisis. This was not even a diplomatic incident. This was a comprehensive demonstration that everything we thought we knew about humans was catastrophically wrong, and we were about to learn exactly how wrong in excruciating detail. The shuttle arrived 20 minutes later. It was, I noted with growing resignation, painted bright yellow with the words Settlement 792 Community Transport stenciled on the side. The pilot was a human female, maybe 40 cycles old, wearing casual civilian clothing and drinking something from a container marked Galaxy's Best Mom.
You must be Krisha,
she said as I boarded.
I am Helen. I run the settlement school. Buckle up. This might get bumpy.
You are a teacher, I said. Math and physics mostly, though I also coach the volleyball team. She punched coordinates into the navigation system. Fair warning, I learned to fly this thing about 3 weeks ago. So if you have any deities you want to pray to, now would be a good time. 3 weeks. Marcus figured we might need pilots eventually. He has very good instincts about these things. The shuttle lifted off and I spent the next 30 minutes certain I was going to die. Helen flew with the casual disregard for safety protocols that suggested either supreme confidence or complete ignorance. Possibly both. We docked with the human ship without incident, though without incident was perhaps generous given that Helen scraped the port airlock twice and apologized with oops, still getting the hang of spatial awareness. Marcus was waiting inside. He was shorter than I expected, with gray hair, weathered skin, and eyes that suggested he found this entire situation more amusing than threatening. He was wearing what appeared to be farming clothes and holding a data pad. Analyst Krisha, he said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. Thank you for coming. Can I offer you anything? Water? Nutrient supplement? We managed to synthesize something that should be compatible with Cathresh biology. I took his hand cautiously. You synthesize Cathresh nutrients. Well, we had some of your soldiers' field rations to work from. Reverse engineering is not too complicated once you understand the base chemistry. He gestured toward what appeared to be a conference room. Shall we talk? The room was furnished simply. A table, some chairs adapted for different physiologies, and a window showing our capital world below. Marcus sat down, placed his data pad on the table, and smiled. So, he said, let us discuss how we got here and more importantly, where we go from here. I assume High Command briefed you on our demands? They mentioned you want a council seat. Among other things, yes. But let us start with the immediate problem. You tried to kill us. We would prefer you did not do that again. High Command regrets the incident. Do they? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Because from our perspective, it looked less like an incident and more like attempted genocide over mineral deposits. I cannot speak to High Command's motivations. Cannot or will not. I hesitated. Both perhaps. Marcus nodded slowly. Fair enough. Here is our situation, analyst. We are 473 people who wanted to live quietly and grow food. We chose that settlement specifically because it was remote, resource poor by your standards, and unlikely to attract attention. We did not want conflict. Then why did you have military-grade countermeasures prepared? His smile turned colder. Because humans have a very long memory, Krisha, and we have learned, through considerable historical experience, that when you are the small settlement on the frontier, you either prepare for the worst or you become a footnote in someone else's expansion policy. You were expecting an attack. We were prepared for one. There is a difference. He pulled up a holographic display. Your species is not the first to decide we were inconvenient. In the last 300 cycles, humans have dealt with 17 separate attempts at colonization, subjugation, or extermination. We are still here. Most of those 17 species are not. The display showed battle after battle, and each one followed the same pattern. Overwhelming force meets unexpected resistance. Technological superiority encounters creative adaptation. Certainty crumbles into panic. You are saying we made a common mistake, I said. I am saying you made the same mistake everyone makes with humans. You assumed we were weak because we chose peace. You confused preference with capability. Marcus leaned forward. We did not want this fight, analyst. But now that you have started it, we are going to finish it. The only question is how many people die in the process. Hence the rocks above our capital. Hence the educational demonstration. Yes. We wanted to make sure High Command understands exactly what they are dealing with. Which is? A species that has been practicing warfare since before we left our homeworld. A species that turned theoretical physics into practical weapons while still using chemical rockets. A species that will fight with sticks and stones if that is all we have, and will somehow make those sticks and stones terrifying. He smiled again. We are very good at violence, Krisha. We just prefer not to be. I looked at the datapad in front of me. With its carefully worded demands and legal citations, you are offering us a way out. We are offering you a partnership, whole recognition of settlement rights, fair resource allocation, political representation. In exchange, you get access to human innovation, wholly human labor. And most importantly, you get to not fight us. High Command will never agree to this. High Command will agree, Marcus said calmly. Or we will drop rocks on their building and discuss terms with whoever replaces them. The choice is theirs. Ty believed him. That was the terrifying part. The thing about negotiations I was learning is that they work significantly better when one side has 40,000 kilograms of rocks hovering over the other side's government headquarters. Marcus poured himself something hot from a container, took a sip, and gestured at the viewport. Beautiful planet you have there. Shame if something happened to it. That is a threat. That is an observation, he corrected. A threat would be if I gave you a timeline, which I am not doing, yet. I felt my antenna twitch. High Command will need time to consider your proposals. Of course, we are reasonable people. He glanced at a chronometer on the wall. They have 6 hours. 6 hours is not reasonable. It is significantly more time than you gave us before trying to vaporize our homes, Marcus said pleasantly. We counted 37 seconds between your ships entering our airspace and opening fire. 6 hours seems downright generous by comparison. He had a point. I hated that he had a point. Let me contact my superiors, I said. Use the comm system in the next room. Privacy is important in these situations. He stood up, stretched, and added, Oh, and Krisha, tell them we monitored their defense grid powering up about 4 minutes ago. Tell them we noticed. Tell them if they fire on this ship, we have a dead man switch rigged to dump our entire cargo hold. Physics is very democratic that way. It does not care about who started it. I went into the communications room, my legs feeling less steady than I would have preferred. The connection to High Command took longer than usual, probably because every military channel was currently screaming about the crisis. The Administrator Vexrel appeared on the screen. Her carapace had the dull sheen of someone who had not slept in several cycles. Analyst Krisha. Report. The humans are serious. Administrator. They have a concrete timeline, functional weapons, and absolutely no hesitation about using them. We are aware. Defense Command is preparing a surgical strike to neutralize the vessel. Administrator respectfully, that is the worst possible idea. Her antenna stiffened. Explain. They know about the defense grid activation. They have countermeasures prepared. And even if you somehow destroy their ship, you will have accomplished nothing except proving to every human in this sector that the Dominion cannot be trusted or negotiated with. You think we should surrender to their demands? I think we should recognize reality. Administrator, these are not primitive farmers. They are former military engineers, systems specialists, and apparently several other professions that translate directly into tactical advantages. They chose farming. They did not forget everything else. Dexrel was silent for a moment. What are they offering in exchange for backing down? Access to human technical expertise, agricultural innovations, and most importantly, they are offering not to destroy our capital. That is extortion. That is Tuesday, apparently. I pulled up Marcus's proposal documents.
Administrator,
Look at their citations.
they have found 17 separate clauses in our own interstellar agreements that we have violated.
They have legal standing. If this goes to any neutral arbitration body, we lose. We are the Dominion. We do not lose to farmers. With respect, Administrator, we already did. The question now is whether we lose gracefully or catastrophically. Another long silence. Well then, Vexrel's antennae drooped slightly. What exactly do they want? What exactly do they want? I transmitted the full proposal. Watched her read through it. Watched her antennae droop further with each page. They want a permanent council seat, she said finally. They want recognition as equals. They want access to our technology databases. And they are offering access to theirs in return. Administrator, have you looked at what humans have accomplished with limited resources? Their material science alone could advance our manufacturing capabilities by decades. They want us to formally apologize. They want acknowledgement that we attempted genocide, which we did. Vexrel looked tired, more tired than I had ever seen a senior administrator look. If we agree to this, it sets a precedent. Every minor settlement will think they can threaten us into concessions. If we do not agree to this, it sets a different precedent, that the Dominion murders civilians and ignores its own laws. Which precedent would you prefer, Administrator? She closed her eyes. Her antenna went completely flat. I will need to consult with High Command. You have 5 hours and 42 minutes. That is not enough time. Then I suggest you speak quickly, Administrator. The connection ended. I sat there for a moment, contemplating how my career had gone from reviewing trade manifests to negotiating the fate of the Dominion in the span of one day. Marcus appeared in the doorway, holding 2 containers. How did it go? They are considering their options. They are considering their options. Good. He handed me one of the containers. Synthesized nutrient drink. It should not kill you, probably. I took it cautiously. You are very calm for someone threatening an entire government. Oh, I am terrified, Marcus said cheerfully. But I learned a long time ago that showing fear to bullies only encourages them. Better to smile and hold your ground. We are not bullies. You tried to exterminate a village of farmers over mining rights, Krisha. If that is not bullying, I would hate to see what you consider aggressive. That was Administrator Plaxnor's decision, not official policy. And yet here we are. Marcus sat down across from me. Do you know why humans are so good at this? At improvising, adapting, winning fights we should not win? I imagine you are about to tell me. Because we spent most of our evolutionary history as prey animals, not predators. Prey, everything on our homeworld, wanted to eat us. We were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most poisonous. We were just stubborn and clever and absolutely unwilling to give up. He took a sip of his drink. We learned to use tools because we had to. We learned to cooperate because we had to. We learned to plan and scheme and find every possible advantage because our survival depended on it. And then, somewhere along the way, we got good enough at it that we stopped being prey. But we never forgot the lessons. So this is all evolutionary advantage. This is what happens when you pick a fight with a species that spent 100,000 years learning how to survive things bigger and stronger than themselves. Marcus smiled. You should have checked our history before attacking us, Krisha. Would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. My communicator chirped. Message from Vexrel High Command wanted to speak directly with Marcus. They want to negotiate with you personally, I said. Excellent. Set it up. 5 minutes later, Marcus was sitting in the communications room, looking completely relaxed while 3 members of High Command appeared on the screen. Commander the Lucart, Administrator Vexrel, and unfortunately Junior Administrator Plaxesnor himself. I am Commander the Corps, the military officer began.
You are Marcus, leader of the human settlement.
Council member, Marcus corrected. We vote on everything. I just happen to be good at talking. So they send me to do the negotiating. You are holding our capital hostage. I am demonstrating our capability to respond proportionally to aggression. There is a difference. Plaxner leaned forward. You cannot possibly believe we will grant your demands based on threats from a single ship. Administrator Plaxers, nor, Marcus said, his voice dropping several degrees in temperature. You are the individual who authorized the attack on my settlement. I recognize your identification markers. So let me be very clear. I am not negotiating with you. You are the reason we are having this conversation, and you have absolutely zero credibility in these discussions. I recommend you sit there quietly while the adults talk. Plaxener's carapace flushed with anger. How dare you? How dare I? How dare I? Marcus's calm facade cracked slightly. You tried to murder 473 people, including 62 children, because you wanted our land. You did not even have the decency to offer us relocation. You just decided we were inconvenient and tried to erase us. So do not talk to me about daring, Administrator. You used up all your moral authority the moment you ordered those gunships to fire. The communications room went silent. Even through the screen I could feel the tension. Commander, the caller spoke carefully. The strike was not authorized by High Command. Administrator Plaxnor exceeded his authority. Is that so? Marcus pulled up a document. Because I have his authorization codes right here, along with the approval signatures from his supervisor, the resource allocation forms for the attack ships. This went through at least 4 levels of bureaucracy. Someone new. Multiple someones. Vexril's antenna twitched. How did you obtain classified military documents? Same way we obtained your legal codes, your defense grid protocols, and your embarrassing internal memos about the attack.
Your security is bad.
Administrator,
Really bad. You should probably fix that.
you have been spying on us. We have been protecting ourselves. Again, there is a difference. Marcus leaned back. Now, are we going to keep dancing around the issue, or are we going to discuss actual solutions? Because I have rocks to drop and paperwork to file, and I would prefer to get home before dinner. The lurker looked at Vexril. Something passed between them, some kind of silent communication. Then the commander spoke. What do you actually want, Marcus? The real objective, not the formal demands. I want my neighbors to stop trying to kill us, Marcus said simply.
I want legal protection so this never happens again.
I want recognition that humans are not target practice or obstacles to be removed. And yes, I want a seat at the table, because clearly your current decision-making process has some serious flaws. You want to join the Dominion Council. I want humanity to have a voice in decisions that affect us. You can call it whatever you like. The council seats are reserved for founding species of the Dominion. Then change the rules, Marcus said. You tried to exterminate us. Making us part of your government seems like reasonable compensation, do you not think? Plaxnor started to object, but the Helcar silenced him with a gesture. You realize this would fundamentally alter the power structure of the Dominion. I realize you tried to commit genocide, and failed badly. I realize we currently have you by the, what is your analogy? By the antenna. I realize that every moment you delay, more species are watching this standoff and drawing conclusions about Dominion strength and competence. Marcus smiled. So yes, Commander, this will alter your power structure. The question is whether it alters it through negotiation, or through the object lesson of your capital being bombarded by agricultural settlement residents with improvised weapons. Your choice. The Vorcha was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I need to consult with the full council. This decision cannot be made by 3 individuals. You have 4 hours and 18 minutes. That is not enough. It is what you have, Marcus interrupted. Use it wisely, Commander. The transmission ended. Marcus stood, stretched, and looked at me. That went well. You just threatened the entire High Command. I clarified our position, he corrected. Threats would involve graphic descriptions of exactly what happens when 40,000 kilograms of rock hits a city at terminal velocity. I was downright diplomatic by comparison. They might refuse. Then we start dropping rocks and negotiate with whoever survives. I would prefer not to. Mind you, rocks are expensive to haul into orbit, but we will if we have to. You are actually serious about this. Kreisha, let me tell you something about humans. We are very good at not being serious, right up until the moment we decide we are. And when we decide we are serious, we become absolutely terrifying. Your High Command tried to kill our children. That puts us squarely in the serious category. He walked to the viewport, looked down at the planet below. I spent 30 years building infrastructure systems, power grids, water treatment, communications networks, boring stuff. I was good at it. Then I retired, moved to a quiet settlement and started growing tomatoes. I was happy. What changed? Your people showed up and tried to murder everyone I care about. He turned back to me. So now I am sitting in a spaceship above your capital, holding your government hostage with rocks and physics. Funny how life works out. Do you enjoy this? Not remotely. I would much rather be home tending my garden and arguing with Helen about her terrible taste in music. But someone has to do this. And apparently I am the one with the combination of technical knowledge and sheer spite necessary to pull it off. My communicator chirped again. Message from Commander. The Solkar Emergency Council session had been called. They would have a decision within 3 hours. They are moving fast, I said. They are scared, Marcus corrected. Good. Fear focuses the mind. The next 3 hours were among the longest of my life. Marcus spent them calmly reviewing documents, drinking his terrible-smelling human beverages, and occasionally checking on the status of his cargo hold. Helen stopped by to report that the shuttle was fueled and ready for quick departure if necessary. How are things back home? Marcus asked her. Fine. Well, mostly fine. Thomas accidentally set fire to his field trying to build a better scarecrow, but we got it under control, and Maria finished reverse engineering that sensor array from the crashed gunship. Turns out Cathrish surveillance technology is not that complicated once you understand the basic principles. Good to know. Oh, and the kids at school wanted me to ask if you are going to drop the rocks. They think it would be educational. Marcus laughed. Tell them I am trying very hard not to, but if we do, I will make sure they can watch from a safe distance. You are going to let children watch you bombard a city? I asked, horrified. I am going to let children watch physics in action, Marcus corrected. There is a difference. Besides, if we drop the rocks, it means negotiations failed and we are at war. At that point, educational value becomes secondary to survival. You have given this considerable thought. Crenshaw. I have given everything considerable thought. That is how you survive when the universe keeps trying to kill you. Finally, the communicator chirped. Commander the Corps appeared on screen. He looked exhausted. Marcus, we have reached a decision. I am listening. The Council has voted, 7-4, to accept your primary demands. Settlement rights will be recognized and protected. Full reparations will be paid. Formal apologies will be issued. And pending final approval from the Interspecies Accord Commission, humans will be granted observer status on the Dominion Council, with full voting rights to be evaluated after a trial period of 2 cycles. Observer status. It is the best we can offer immediately. Full membership requires amendments to the Dominion Charter, which takes time. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Observer status with guaranteed voting rights after 2 cycles. Guaranteed, provided humans demonstrate good faith participation in council proceedings. And Administrator Plaxnor? Corps' antennae drooped. He has been removed from his position and will face disciplinary proceedings for unauthorized military action. Not good enough, Marcus said flatly. He tried to commit genocide. Disciplinary proceedings are what you do when someone falsifies expense reports.
He needs to face actual justice.
He will be tried under Dominion military law. He will be tried in a neutral court under interstellar law, with human observers present, non-negotiable. Another pause. Then the Humish nodded slowly. Agreed, Huxnor will face trial under interstellar legal frameworks. Marcus looked at me. I nodded slightly. It was more than I had expected them to concede. Acceptable, Marcus said finally. We will begin withdrawing our ship from orbit. But understand this, Commander. We are going to be watching very carefully. If anything like this happens again, to us or to any other settlement, there will be no negotiations. There will only be consequences. Are we clear? Perfectly clear. Good. Croesus will handle the formal paperwork. I need to go tell my neighbors that we are not in fact going to war today. They will be disappointed. But that is life. The transmission ended. Marcus turned to me and extended his hand again. Congratulations, analyst. You just helped prevent a war. I took his hand. You were actually going to drop those rocks, were you not? Without hesitation, he said. But I am very glad I did not have to. Contrary to popular belief, humans do not actually enjoy violence. We are just unfortunately good at it when necessary. Your people will be satisfied with this outcome. My people will be satisfied that we are still alive and have legal protections. The rest is paperwork. He smiled. Though I suspect the council is going to regret giving us observer status once they realize how many meetings that involves. You plan to be disruptive. I plan to be thorough. There is a difference. 6 hours later, I was back on the surface filing approximately 17,000 pages of documentation to formalize the agreement. Marcus and his people had departed, the ship with its cargo of rocks heading back to Settlement 792. Commander of the Corps summoned me to High Command personally. You did well. Analyst Krisha, he said. Better than expected. I mostly stood there while Marcus dictated terms, sir. You kept the situation from escalating. That matters. He paused. What is your assessment of the humans? I thought carefully. They are dangerous, Commander. Far more dangerous than we assumed, but they are also reasonable within limits. They do not want conflict. They simply refuse to be victims. And if we had not agreed to their terms, they would have dropped the rocks, sir, without hesitation. And then they would have done worse things to prove their point. Humans are very good at escalation. The Corps nodded slowly. This will change everything, you realize. Once word spreads that a farming settlement forced the Dominion into concessions, every minor colony will start making demands. With respect, sir, maybe that is not a bad thing. Oh. Maybe we need to be challenged. Maybe we have been making decisions too easily without considering consequences. Careful, analyst. That sounds dangerously close to agreeing with the humans. Perhaps I am, sir. They made some compelling points between the threats. He almost smiled at that. You are assigned as primary liaison to Settlement 792. Someone needs to manage this relationship, and you seem to have developed an understanding with them. With respect, sir, I would rather return to reviewing trade manifests. Denied. You are now our human specialist. Congratulations on your promotion. I left High Command feeling significantly less enthusiastic about my career prospects than I had that morning. 3 months later, I attended my first Dominion Council session as escort for Marcus, who arrived in his observer capacity wearing the same farming clothes he had worn while threatening our capital. The session was, predictably, chaos. Marcus asked 17 pointed questions about resource allocation policies, identified 4 separate legal violations in current military protocols, and suggested 12 specific reforms to prevent future incidents like the attack on his settlement. He was polite, thorough, and absolutely relentless. By the end of the session, 3 council members had resigned rather than deal with him, and Commander Thelcor looked like he was reconsidering every decision that had led to this moment. As we left, Marcus turned to me and smiled. That was fun. Same time next week. Councils only meet monthly. Marcus. Oh well, I will find other ways to be helpful in the meantime. Maybe review some of your agricultural subsidies. I have opinions about your crop rotation policies. Please do not. Too late. Already started reading the regulations. Oh, did you know you are systematically underfunding legume production? Terrible for soil health. And that more or less is how a human farming village ended up with effective control over Dominion agricultural policy, and eventually much more. They never did drop those rocks, but everyone knows they could have. And sometimes the threat is enough. Marcus still grows tomatoes. By the way, best in the sector, he claims.
I have tried them. He is not wrong.
Though I suspect the secret ingredient is spite.